Welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, the podcast that dives deep into the stories of trailblazers who shape our world. Our co-host Lulu Benavides is a seasoned entrepreneur in the beauty industry, is a photographer, artist, and the proud owner of Lulu's The Salon in Galveston, Texas. Our other co-host, Sue Croconis Hansen, is a visionary in the entrepreneurial world with years of experience in business innovation and development. Together, they bring you insights, inspiration, and the journeys of remarkable individuals who have made their mark. And with that, let's get started. Paul Vega is a globally respected artist, educator, and master stylist with over 40 years of experience in the beauty industry. His journey began in 1979 at Royal Barber College in Los Angeles, inspired by a family legacy of barbers, including his father and 3 brothers. From day one, Paul was committed to excellence, pursuing advanced training in Toronto and Paris, where he elevated his skills in both precision and creativity. In the mid-1980s, Paul launched his education career with Wall Clipper, making history as one of the first bilingual educators to headline main stages across the U.S. His talent soon led to a pivotal role with Clairol, where he became the company's first bilingual national educator, followed by a standout run with Wella Color Charm, headlining national and international shows. Paul's work spans the worlds of Fashion Week, editorial shoots, and celebrity styling, with a client list that includes former First Lady Barbara Bush, Kris Jenner, Chris Noth, and other notable names. A certified international colorist, he has taught for Tech Italy, April, and various North American distributors, sharing his knowledge with stylists across borders. Today, Paul continues to mentor the next generation of beauty professionals through collaborations with X-Edge Scissors and Luke Vincent Beauty Products in Montreal. He also proudly serves as the official hairstylist for the Los Angeles Rams Cheerleaders. Please welcome to the podcast a true pioneer in bilingual education and global beauty excellence, Paul Vega.
So, Paul, Sue and I are so happy and honored to have you here on our podcast, Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Your journey has been incredible, and we can't wait to hear all about what you began your barbering, your cosmetology up to now, and what you're doing now. So, Paul, you started as a barber and back in 1979. Is that right?
Yes.
And so what would you say in the industry was like back then?
Back then, barbering was incredible. It was an incredible industry because cosmetology was just everywhere. You know, you went to Marinello's, you went to the top cosmetology school, so barbering was just kind of in the mix. When I went to barber college, well, first of all, my father's a barber, and 3 of my brothers are barbers. So honestly, I never thought I would be a barber. It was something I never wanted to. We're brought up, like a lot of poor people that, you didn't have things, so you wanted things. And I wanted a bike, I wanted a car, I wanted things. So I was thinking blue collar, get right to work and do that. My brothers gave me an offer that I couldn't refuse. They told me that they would pay for my school. I would have a job when I got out. And if I didn't like it, I can do whatever I wanted. So it made me think a little bit, but at the same time, I started around the barbershop around 5. I was shining shoes at my dad's barbershop. So the best thing that came out of the barbering, which I think is even needed more so now in our barbering, is customer service. My father at an early age taught us, one thing that people don't realize is that Fidel Sassoon came into barbering, and he's the one that taught barbers how to use a blow dryer with the Denman brush, obviously. And so barbering changed from just cutting and combing and walking out the door to blow drying. So during that time, there was hair everywhere because they just cut hair dry. They didn't wash hair. So as a little 5-year-old, my dad taught me how to brush all the hair off all the clients to make sure they're nice and clean when they walked out. And to this day, that is one of the highest standards that I have is customer service. And the industry, it was hard, honestly, to be accepted. I had a lot of cosmetologist friends. I had a lot of hairstyling friends that were not barbers. I think I was the only one out of Whittier that was a barber besides my brothers. So the hair industry was a little different compared to where barbers are now. It's pretty much popular now. You can find a barbershop in every corner. But at the same time, are they hopefully they're professional enough and have the standards like we had. The difference back then compared to the difference now is we didn't use attachments. We didn't cut by numbers. You know,
Yeah.
when Barbershop, the movie Barbershop came out with Ice Cube, that changed the whole generation of barbering,
Right.
where it brought it up, it made it popular. So there's a whole new generation of barbering that changed from there. And it's great because it's gotten so artistic, so creative. But honestly, right now, I have probably 10, 10 to 12 men that I cut. I do nothing but color and everything else.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a lot more men trying to get in because of my schedule, because they want to go get a haircut by scissors. They want to get their hair shampooed. They want to get that service because
Right.
now barbering, I call it the Wild West, because barbering is just, I mean, Lulu and Sue, you know how much it was to go to a hair show. I would love to go to a hair shows and buy my tools and now it's like the hair shows, but at the same time, and it's good, but it's all barbering.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go buy some curling irons. I want to go see who's doing what in color. I want to see
Right.
the latest haircuts. Like
Right.
what has encouraged me to stay where I'm at. So the barbering has kind of changed in a sense where I'm glad that it's as popular that it is, but that's changing. Everything changes. Like I say, trends change. So, it's good to know everything. And in my upbringing, I'm glad that I didn't know anything because I opened my
Yeah.
eyes to everything. And from barbering, I went to my first Clairol class. And that was amazing to see somebody change a woman's hair color, because in barbering you just cut hair. We're taught coloring, we're taught everything, which I learned, but that's what opened my eyes to
Yeah.
to kind of change and still maintain the same in barbering and now to the future, because that's where it was.
Yeah. I love what you said about customer service because and Lulu feels the same way. We've spent endless hours talking about, but I always say the client might not remember exactly how she looks after she's left the salon, but she is going to remember how you made her feel. And I think that's so important. And the industry in general, especially today, life is a little harder today. It's a little different. It's a little more unsure. When people come in and you can make them feel confident, you make them feel good about themselves. I mean, it's one of the greatest professions in the world. So hats off to you for the work you've done.
Thank
I'm
you.
just real curious because when I go to shows today, and I'm going to get in trouble with a lot of my hairdresser friends, but when I go to shows today and I walk around and I see really fabulous technical work being done, it's being done by barbers. I'm very impressed by what's happening in the barber industry. How do you feel that your background in barbering has helped elevate your creativity and craft and approach to the overall industry?
That's a great question, Sue. I think what's helped me is the fact that with barbering, you can go many places other than just men's hair.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is one of my first hair shows that I did was for Wall Clipper Company. At that time, flat tops were the only thing that were popular, and nobody was wanting to have their hair shaved until the early '90s came in, where the girls were shaving the back of their nape area. But prior to that, when I was working with Wall, I always liked to think out of the box because that's what has helped me grow is to just to be, because I grew up in the box, and I felt safe in the box. I think I'm number 7 out of 9 kids, 7 boys and 2 girls.
Oh,
Wow.
So
wow.
yeah, so I kind of was a black sheep in my family, and I definitely followed the rules, did everything, but I always was curious, and I always again thinking out of the box. So I got my first job with Wall Clipper Company, and I'll never forget because I'm like, you can't just do flat tops to get attention on a stage, and you girls know how that is,
Yes.
especially working the stage. It is so hard. That what I did, and it was just I'm a daydreamer, and I'm so glad that I a daydreamer because I I fantasize a lot outside. Maybe it's
Mm.
got me in trouble in school with my instructors, like, Paul, keep look, stop looking out the window or whatnot. But what I did to prepare myself for a show, because it was in Arizona, I was working right across the street from a high school, and I was just a barber. I was 18 years old. I was just doing men's barber, tapers, and I said I want to do something different. So I advertised at the high school free haircuts on my slowest day, which it was Wednesday. School ended at 3, and I knew I was going to go till 6, but I advertised free haircuts from 3 to 6. And when they came in, I was busy. When they came in, I said, I'm going to cut your hair exactly how you want it, but I'm going to use a clipper. So back in 1984, I trained myself to do a complete haircut. And if you know, back then there was Farrah Fawcett and the layers and all that.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
learned how
yeah.
to do everything that you can do with the scissor and razor with a clipper. So when we
Mm.
went to the show, we sold out on the first day, all the
Yeah.
batch of clippers.
Yeah.
And we had the worst booth and everything, but it worked out good.
Yeah.
So, getting back to your question, Sue, a lot of times, you have to really keep that creative mind going. These
Mhm.
barbers that are incredible artists, and now that they're doing the color work and it's something you didn't see back then because it wasn't created like it is now. So hats off to those, especially the razor. I'm sorry, I can't use a razor. The first time I nick, it just scares me. So I respect very much the barbers that can hoe and strap their razors and do
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it's an incredible industry.
So, Paul, you train in Toronto and Paris and many other places. How did being an international experience, how did that shape your artistic eye and your education today?
Lulu, I tell people and I tell students all the time, you have to get out of your environment. You
Hmm.
have to get out of your culture. You
Hmm.
have to go out to another country to understand. When Martin Parsons first came and did his show here, I went to his class, and he was giving 5 free week academy training to his academy in Toronto. I wanted to go so bad. I filled out so many. I did everything you do in one of those drop off things, bend the paper so they can pick you and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for that last one. And he picked the last one, and it wasn't me. And this is a lesson I've learned early on your career, that nothing should stop you when you want something. And
Hmm.
so I'm like, I came back, I'm working with my brothers in the barbershop, and I said, hey, man, I really want to go get trained by this guy. And I really want to be able to bring it back to us. So, that's what I was trying to do, is sell it to my brothers, right? So they could sponsor me. And they said, well, Paul, that's a lot of money, and we can't send you.
Yeah.
So instead of, sometimes we have situations that we just bicker, and that's a good time to change things around. And what are you going to do about it, Paul? What are you going to do about it? Well, I wanted to go so bad that I saved up.
Mhm.
I saved up and I went to go in Canada, which was my first trip away from home,
Yeah.
first trip away into another country, into another culture. And it was the best training I could have had, because you're by yourself. So you're on your own. You don't have your friends. You don't have your family. And it kind of matures you. You see how people are. Toronto is a melting pot of just talent.
Hmm.
And that helped me communicate with people. That helped me open my mind to education. One of the things too, when you go to these schools and go to academies, that I learned, I was the only male out of 14 that went there. We all paid $2,500 to go there for a week. I wanted to be taught by Martin Parsons. I mean,
Yeah.
that was my dream. He only showed up one day, but the team trained us like incredible, right?
Yeah.
And the day he showed up, which he did hairstyling. He didn't do any cutting. That's why when I went to Toronto, I wanted to learn hairstyling, and it was all cutting. But what do you do in situations? You absorb. You do. You like, because sometimes we have aspirations of what we have and expectations, and we don't have it, and then we just block everything. But
Mhm.
you have to look at things in another way. So I looked at it as opportunity. Like, hey, man, I'm going back to LA, and this is what it does you guys to us. It helps your resume. You're not just the average person, and I'm not just the average hair barber in Whittier now. When I
Yeah.
came back, I had something, so it elevates you. And the memory I'll never forget is that when he taught the razor, he told everyone, okay, we're gonna do the haircuts. You can do the razor. You don't have to, but you can do the razor if you like. I'm gonna be here all day to teach. No one wanted to touch the razor. I got it, and he gave me a hands-on class. I've never been slapped in my hand so hard by Martin with the tension that you need to have, and the education. But that's what makes us better.
Yeah.
So coming out of Toronto, I went twice to his education. That's how good it was. And then in Paris, that's another thing, aspirations that you have. And we went for the Coiffure Mundial,
Yes.
and that was it was kind of a nightmare getting there. There was only four of us coming from California. The rest were coming from New York and other states to Paris. And we were going to go to the show. We're going to get educated. We're so excited because we actually got tickets to go be taught by Bruno Pettini,
Yeah.
which was the creative director for Jacques Dessange.
Yeah.
I hope I said that right for all
Yes.
my French
Yes.
friends,
Yeah.
please. But so we went, and the training was before the Coiffure Mundial. We get to the training, and he passed away.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
that's when he passed. And we're at the door going into the class, and he said we had an emergency, and he's no longer with us. So we canceled the training, and we're like, wow, what do we do? I mean, I know we're going to the Coiffure Mundial, but so again, getting back to your aspirations and your what do you do when you have certain anticipations? So we said, well, we have the show, but let's go see if we can get some training from some. I mean, we're in Paris.
Yeah.
There's hair salons. There's all kinds of people.
Yeah.
So we're walking around, and we see this nice, beautiful salon. It's all lit up, and we go in, and we just standing at the door, and one of our friends spoke French, Robert, and he told him like, hey, we want to see about if we can come and train. And the manager says, we're closing right now, but if you like, the owner just left, and let me call him. And we're like, what? So he calls him, and he says, okay. He said he wants you to come to his house, and we're like, what? So we he goes, yes, and he walked out the door, and he pointed right three kind of across the street, three doors, and he says he's right there. Just go in there, and he's expecting. And I'm sure you guys have been to Paris, and the buildings, and we stay in
Yeah.
hotels, but
Yeah.
there's people living in these miniature little castles that are like kind of dark, just like what you see in the movies, right?
Yeah.
So we go, and it's dark. It's in the evening now, and it's dark, and he welcomes us in, and we walk through this house. He goes, yes, follow me. And sure enough, we walk into a room just like in the movie, a room where it's dark, a little lamp, and bookcases all over the place. And he says, tell me a little bit about yourselves. And we're from America, and we're here for the show, and we want to do some training, and we want to know if we told him that Frank Bruno Pettini had passed. And he goes, oh, yes, I heard. Sorry to hear that. He goes, we're going to attend his class. He goes, you came to attend his class? He goes, yes. He goes, well, I really don't teach anything, or I don't teach, but I'll invite you to come and spend a day in my salon, and you can learn with your eyes. And we're
Oh
like,
wow.
Yeah.
great. Now, this is what was so amazing, because you guys know this. To me, when there was a hair show and a 3-day hair show, one day I would just sit and see all the main stages. The next day, I would walk the floor and get all my education that way, right? And
Yes.
then the third day, I would take my classes.
Yeah.
And we're all about because a group of guys are with me. We've all done main stage performances, and you really have to step out of the box to do a main stage performance. So we go to the main stage. We're sitting there, and we're waiting. We see the first performer, and then they're talking about this grand performer, and who comes out? The man that we spoke with the day before, and it was Frank Provost.
My God.
It was Frank Provost. And we
Oh,
just looked at each other, and like we were just in his house. And it was like, oh my God, he's on stage. We were crying, like we were like it was the most experience, but it's what you do out of it. But getting back to what you get is you get You know, a lot of times coming from Los Angeles, you know, sometimes you hear of people having experiences and you say, like, well, I didn't have that experience, but then what
Yeah.
did you do? And it's what you do with it and how you
What you
see
did.
it. And,
Right.
you know, it was incredible. 2 days later, we went to a salon. It was like after we saw my main stage. And, you know, and that was where I first saw, and this was in 1996. And that's where I first saw them putting cotton in between highlights,
Uh-huh.
what you see now.
Yeah.
You know, and this is in 96, almost a couple decades later.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just amazing. And that's what you get out of it. You know, you open your mind, but and it betters yourself, you know, communication wise. You know, I tell people travel, travel, travel,
Yeah.
especially in our industry, because it's amazing what you can learn and how it betters yourself as a person.
Well,
Correct.
I'm sitting here between two phenomenally successful, wonderful Latino people. And you might think, well, now, what do you have in common? Well, I'm a little German French farm girl from Iowa. So I
Oh,
could not be more different than Texas and LA. But so much of what you're saying is what I used to tell my stylist and my students. And that is, if you want to be the best, you have to surround your people with the best. And sometimes that means you have to get out of your comfort zone. The first person you have to believe in is yourself. Go get you some. Get out there. Don't be afraid. Don't let your fear, your circumstances hold you back, because you're the captain of your own ship. And that I just hear that so much in what you're saying. It's impactful to me, and I'll direct this at you, Paul, but my limited vision, there weren't a lot of Latinos really coming out, being on main stage at the main shows, coming out, like you said, barbering, which is a cousin to the beauty industry, or part of it's now integrated, but back in those days it was kind of a cousin. So I'm really curious as to how the last years have impacted the Latino community of artists. Who do you feel, or the opportunities that are there? Who's coming up behind you now? Because you talked about running behind the bulls. I'm very curious.
they're not coming up behind me. They kind of, I kind of saw them past me, you know, and just with the woof of that air was enough
Yeah.
to get me like, whoa, 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 I got to get up there, you know. But you know, there's so much talent. You know, Puerto Rico has some talent.
Yeah.
You know that's coming out of there. The young talent. It's unfortunate that young talent, I don't know. I don't know names, but I just see it.
See the work.
And yeah, because you know, right now I am. There's a hair show in which it's bigger than the IBS show in New York,
Yeah.
but it's in Mexico, and it's going on right now. And it's like the biggest show ever. And I'm like, I see captions and I miss it, and I see all this talent there,
Yeah.
and they're all Latin, you
Yeah.
know. And I have been part of this company, which is called X Edge, and it's a big company. They're Japanese scissors, but there's this man Fermin Garcia that is the owner of X Edge, and he is known as the Profe, which is professor, shortened in Spanish, and he has these scissors that are made specifically for him from Japan, and he is a distributor, and he has some incredible talent on his team. I'm honored to be part of his team as well. But you know, I tell people a lot of times, and this was back in the day when there was hair shows and the styling and the competition and the styling. I always said, like, if there's a Latino in competing, they're gonna win. So you better be on top of it to win. But
Yeah.
yes, the Latin industry, especially right now with all these Latin entertainers. I mean, look at their hair. Carol G, you know, J Balvin, you know, Bad Bunny, their hair changes. I mean, you look at the gala, and there was a Latino hairdresser doing the hair for the gala. You know, and then I see clips of their hairdressers. I just love the fact that they're staying within the culture and it's growing, and people are starting to see our industry in other countries as important because we are looked upon so high. And that's what countries are trying to be with us running as bulls, you know?
Yeah.
Paul, you talk about, the Hispanic world. Recently, we interviewed several Hispanic artists, and I was fortunate enough to be with these artists in Austin at the Capitol to do a painting.
I
And
saw that. Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. And I just dabble in this. I do hair. I do paint, but that's not my
What
craft.
colors?
Yeah, they are colors, but it's not a living. It's something that I do because I enjoy doing it. And the guys that I talked to, I met so many people in our culture. I learned so much about our culture that I didn't even know. So I think Jesse and Angel will come on later this month, I think. You'll get to hear their story, so I won't tell you about it. But anyway, it's so amazing that right now at this particular time, that even though in the past we didn't think of ourselves, I know I didn't think of myself as being Hispanic. I mean, I know that I was. I knew how I grew up, but it was something that I enjoyed this industry, so I knew I had to work a little bit harder, so I did. Not because I was Hispanic or bilingual or whatever. I was just wanting to do this craft. So I did. So, Paul, can you tell the audience you have worked for Wall, and which you told us a little bit about that. You worked for Clairol, you worked for Wella. And then I met you briefly in at Matrix. So can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
Yes. It's funny. I started my career doing shows with Wall Clipper Company. And from Wall, I was discovered by Bob Welsh, which was working for Clairol. And we're doing a hair show in Mexico for about 8,000 people. We were, with the team that I had, we like to do our hair shows like in a theater way. So we honored Frida Kahlo, and he saw us and he's like, hey, he called Clara and says, you got to hire these guys. And it was the first time. That's how we went into the Latin market. While we were with Clairol, they gave us like a little break where they weren't using us, and being independent, that's where we were invited by Linda Langley to Matrix, which is where I met you, Lulu. I met the Alteria brothers, Vivian McKinder, all this thing. Joe Santee, Mr. Permboy, he was called that the day. Hey, sorry, Joe, you're rocking now, Joe. You're so ahead of yourself. But I got to meet that talent, and along the way, you kind of get known, and the fact that with Matrix, we were invited because at the time there wasn't any Latin educators, and so we were invited to help open the Latin market for Matrix, and also for Claro that we did. With that helped us grow a little bit more and also grow the industry. So there was need for that. When that happened, I've been through three major corporations when I was with Clairol, because Clairol was owned by Bristol Myers. And then Procter and Gamble bought Clairol from Bristol Myers. And when Procter and Gamble bought us, we became part of the Wella family. So that's when we started training. So then they moved me from Clairol to Wella Color Charm. And from Wella Color Charm, that's where I went to help out the Latin market. And I worked in Puerto Rico for like 6 years. It was so beautiful
Oh yeah.
working there. And also the Spanish, like the crossover like you're talking about. I went through a process of going through what Selena went through when she did her crossover, because my Spanish was not good and I wasn't considered Latin. you know, I'm not born in Mexico. My
Yeah.
father's born in Mexico. My mom is from Santa Paula, California. So I wasn't accepted. So it was hard because Latin people are hard. I'll give you it was scary for me because I did everything in English. Now I have to speak in Spanish, and I can order off a menu. I can speak with my parents, but now I have to say peroxide. I have to say color formulas, and I'm like, whoa, you're gonna laugh at me. And Latin people are very
Yeah.
respectful for their their culture, so I had to go through some process that was kind of hard, but it made me a better person because it made me work harder, because I could have just walked away from it and said, no, heck, I'm just going to speak English. My Spanish to this day is a lot better, but back then it was hard, especially with the crossover and being accepted, it was so hard. But now, um, getting back to this company X Edge, we go to trainings when we go, just like with Matrix. We go through the training, and the training is incredible, right? You get 4 or 5 days in training, and it's intense. I've trained in Clairol's training, Abuela's trainings are incredible, but the training I got in Mexico, let me tell you, because I also was part of Tech Italy, and I became a certified international colorist with Tech Italy for 3 years. And the training, just because we think we're in a country where we have everything, go outside, man. Go outside and get some education, because it was rough. There was, in this small town, I'll never forget, with X Edge, there was some training, and it was it was training I never had. And this was just like 4 years ago. And we take a break, and there's nothing cool than drinking my coffee, going outside and hearing a rooster, and just realizing, and the scents you smell, knowing you're in a different country. And I shook my head like I couldn't believe the training I just got, and I'm not back in the States. So, Latin America and other countries, they look at us, and, we're encouragement to them, and they're encouragement to us, because I'm still learning, and from other areas, so, yeah.
Paul, my God, your resume is so vast, but I know that you've done some celebrity work. You did Barbara Bush, and you did Kris Jenner, and you've done Chris Nort, and all these people. One thing, my favorite thing to do is to talk to hairdressers, because you hear the best stories on the elevator, backstage, in the cab, on the way to the airport. That's where all the real truth comes out. Do you have any kind of behind the scenes little stories you could share on our podcast?
I do, and this is going to be on a podcast, so everybody's going to know this now, because I haven't really shared this with too many people. The story with Barbara Bush, the owner of the salon, just to give you a little scenario, the owner of the salon was out receiving an award. The manager was not working that day. They get a call, and this is why it's important to say yes. I tell people it's really important, because you can miss out on things. So there was a women's conference in Long Beach by Maria Shriver, and Barbara Bush former First Lady Barbara Bush was a keynote speaker. So the hotel where she was staying at, the concierge called our salon to see if there was someone to do her hair, because we came up and they're gone. The receptionist comes up to me. I'm the creative director at the time. And she's like, well, Paul, what do I do? Well, just tell them yes. And like, well, they're asking for a name. I'm like, well, give them my name. Nobody else is there. So they went. That happened. The owner came back, and she's like, said, there's this is what happened. So can you? She goes, well, Paul, she's a little mature. She's older, and she had that kind of clientele. She goes, so maybe I'll do it. And I'm like, okay, it's your salon. I can't do anything about that. So she called the number they gave, and they said, I'm sorry, but Paul is in our security system, and he's in it, so it has to be him. The next day, I found an unmarked car by my house watching me for the next 3 days when I did that. So it was incredible. But, we learned things. And one of the things my father always said was, always be on time. Be early, Paul. Never be late. And I'm like, yeah, it's important. He goes, but he stressed that. And he said, this is my dad. He says, Paul, being Mexican, people are going to expect you to be late. So never be late. Trust me, I'm always the first one there. So when I went and I finally go to do her hair, I'm there a half an hour early. And they freaked out. Secret Service didn't know what to do. They said, well, can you just stand right here? Because you're really early, and thank you very much. So we go up there. It was an incredible experience. Consultation is the most important thing. It was a really nerve because they put us in a restroom, and I was like, oh my God, that's just like too close with her. I need a bigger room. And so I mentioned, can we do it in the presidential office room? And they said, oh, sure, that would be great. So we're setting up. I asked her how she wants her hair done. Former First Lady Barbara Bush is an incredible, beautiful person. A grandmother you want to hug. She's so humble. She's incredible. So I asked her what she wanted. What a confident woman. She said that she didn't want her hair lumpy, which meant don't tease it and leave the lump. She didn't want to see through it, and she just wanted it away from her face. So I'm like, okay. So we're doing her hair, and here's the funny fact. All week, everybody's asking me at the salon, "What are you going to charge her?" And what are you going to do? And I'm just, she's just another person. I have to keep it in my mind that she's just another person. I'm not going to get overwhelmed. So I'm doing it, and so I'm curling the back. And we, as hairdressers, know that you can feel the heat, but I think I bumped her on the neck. Former First Lady Barbara Bush, yes. Sue, uncover your hands because now I'm freaking out. I never saw Secret Service, so I guess it was okay. But you know how you get close with the
Yeah.
iron and you think you're getting burned? That's what I thought, because the minute she went forward, I went back. I didn't go forward. I went back and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I burn you?" "No, honey, it was just a little warm." I'm like, I just burned the former First Ladies. And I checked and there was no red mark, so it was okay.
Thank God.
But that was the funniest thing about that.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
You never know where this industry is going to take you, do you,
You
Paul?
always have to be ready. You always have to be ready, you know. There's a quote, if I can say that, when I go talk to students, that is so important. Because they ask me, "Paul, how do you get..." You need a lot of years to get where I'm at, you know. People just don't get it overnight. You guys know this.
Oh, correct.
But, you know, there's a lot of work to it. And I say saying yes is one of the most important things in what you do. Richard Bronson, I'm not too sure if you remember when he went up and he came back down, and I saw that whole thing, and he got off and he went right to an interview, and he's kind of sitting on a couch, and he's kind of jittery, and he's just you know, he just came from the moon.
Yeah.
And so they asked him, "What experience or what did you get out of this?" And he said, "Saying yes." He goes, "Because if I would have said no, I would have never experienced what I experienced."
Yeah.
So I tell a lot of students, you just never know, and you know that's what's gotten me jobs, is just that word. Worry about the other things, you know.
Yeah.
Great
You know,
advice.
and that's so true. You talk about the experience that you have gained through your whole career. And Sue and I have also gained so many different experience throughout our career. When you were talking about Barbara Bush, I did Laura Bush's hair.
So
And
maybe if you still do, maybe you could pass this story on to her.
yeah, I will. No, I don't do her anymore, but I did her. And the only reason, and I always give kudos to Charlie Killebrew, because he's the one that told, you know, he was the head of the Republican Party, and they called him first. And he's an older guy. He's a lot older than we are. And he says, "This call Lulu, you know, she'll do it." So anyway, I get a phone call in at the front desk, and thank God Kathy was managing the front desk. So the person says, "Is she really good, like they say she is?" And she goes, "Yes, she is." "Well, I need her to do Barbara Bush's hair on whatever day and be there at 8 o'clock, Moody Gardens, but, you know, all the details." And took her driver's license, her social security, and something else. And then she told me, "Well, I thought it was one of my hairdresser friends that's playing a freaking joke on me." Because that's what they do, especially Luis Alvarez.
Oh my gosh.
And so I said, "No, I don't believe this." So, you know, Kathy comes to me and tells me this story. You know, I just got busy. She calls the assistant, gives all the information, and I got busy. I didn't pay attention. And I never answer my telephone. I have it in my pocket, and it rings, so I'll call the person back, you know, vibrate. But this time I answer it, and she says, "This is Jennifer, Laura Bush's assistant. Just want to make sure you're going to be there at whatever time." And I said, "Well, how do I know what you're going to be wearing?" because I didn't know what I was going to be wearing at that time. And she told me she was going to be wearing a navy blue suit or blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'm Hispanic. You know what? I didn't know what to
You
say.
didn't even say a color. You just said Hispanic.
Because
You weren't nervous.
there are no Hispanic people in Texas.
Well, with the last name in Benavides, okay, they did a background check on me. So it was, well, that was it. So, yeah, so I was Hispanic. But, you know, she was so lovely, just like Barbara Bush was, you know. She had beautiful blue eyes. And I did this experience and what you talked about, that's what's going to make you as an individual.
It humbles you, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So I love it. I love it. So, you know, you have been the headliner for many, many classes. Can you tell the audience what memorable experience that you had during doing those shows, those international shows?
Yeah, you know, doing those international shows and being on main stage, there's a lot of production. There's a lot of, there's a lot you have to go through in a sense of preparation from a story you're going to tell on stage, how long you're going to have. It's all about timing. But the gratifying thing, like I was mentioning, when I would go see main stages, is just to be entertained. And when you see your audience clap, and especially when you get off the stage, I mean, I've opened up for Yongueras and Fernando Romero. And I opened up. And, you know, after opening up for Fernando Romero, and we're doing a thing on Eva Perron, and he's right in the back curtain ready to go on. And you know how you're going in on stage time, and then the top act is coming right behind you.
Yeah, right.
And then, you know, I don't know if you know this, but Luis Romero was an opera singer. He sings opera, and he has this deep voice, you know. And so we're walking, and he hugs us, and I'm like, oh my God! And he's like, your show gave me lágrimas, which is, he said our show gave him tears in his eyes, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So getting on stage and being amongst the other artists, and then your audience, it's the best thing you could have to keep you creative, to keep your mindset for the next show, even though if you're not going to have one, you're already thinking. But more than anything, being amongst the artists. So I was doing a hair show. Speaking of Luis Alvarez, what a beautiful person. Doing a hair show, and artists get in their zones. And, you know, you get in your zones because we feel the music that we want our models to walk with. We have the music of what we want to hear when we're cutting. We have a certain sound when we're talking. We have an opening. We have an ending. And music has a lot to do with it. So Miami was my hub to go buy music. And, you know, you're at that level when people that are a higher level are at your level. So I'm in one of my favorite record stores thinking it's my record store that I get my music for my shows, and you're listening back then to CDs, and we're listening, and I'm bopping to my music, and I turn around, and Luis is right next to me, and he looks and turns around, and he goes, you know, we know each other, and he shakes his hand, and we're just bopping our heads, and then we go to our next sign. He goes, man, I just love this store. And I'm like, Paul, you're in the right zone, because if Luis is buying his music for his shows, you're doing good, Paul. So, you know, that juice, that energy, that family, that blood that we have is what keeps us going. You know, because honestly, I've always said, even starting in my career, I said, man, I'm not going to make my mark until these dinosaurs go. Yeah. Well, they're not dinosaurs. They're still living legends. So I'm not going to get there because they're still around. You know, Sam Villa, you know, all these guys. I mean, like, for a long time, they call me Paul Villa, and I know they're calling Sam Vega, you know, at shows. And that was another thing. You know, you have your time that you have free. Yeah. And so you get to walk around the whole show. So I'm like, I'm going to go walk into a class and stuff. So, and you sit in the back because you don't want to be in the front and you don't want to disturb it. So I'm sitting in the back and I'm looking, and then I look to my right, and there's Sam Villa, and we both do this. You know, like, here we are educating ourselves, but, you know, we're doing the same thing that all artists do. And that's just a family thing that we have, you know?
Exactly. You know, Paul, education is clearly in your heart and in your soul. And you've talked about the different mentoring and work you do with schools. What is your philosophy for this next generation of stylists?
Well, I usually start with this, um, Sue and Lulu. Our profession is serious. Even though laws have changed, it is serious. And I always tell the student, like, what got you here? Why are you here? You got to really be here for a reason, but why are you here? We were at schools because we wanted to. There's a different feeling now. And I said, because I want to let you know three professions that are the most professions in that is needed. Three necessity professions. One is someone in the medical field because we got to be healthy. Two is a teacher because we got to get taught. And three is a hairdresser because last month and an hour ago, and right now this second, 2 seconds passed, there's a child being born. And that child is going to need those three necessities for life. The child's eventually going to have hair. So it's going to need a hairdresser. So how serious are you in this profession? So I like to use that analogy because it's what's kept me going for these 47 years, 46, 7 years. And hunger. You have to have hunger. You all had hunger because the sacrifices you guys did to get to a show, to get to class, to learn. That's what keeps me going. I'm still hungry. I get excited by seeing the youth, the young bulls. I get excited by seeing them do something that I'm not doing. But then again, we're going on 4 decades. I'm going on 4 decades, so everything's recycled.
Yeah.
So they need us for that as far as teachers. But I tell students, you got to be hungry because if you're in school right now, there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of hairdressers ahead of you. So what's going to make you stand out?
Exactly.
Customer service, professionalism, and here's another thing I tell people. For 3 months, I did this thing that I did. I did pop-up education, free. I went from all the way from Oxnard to Ontario, and with the permission of the salon owners. But I just walked in with a tray and I just gave tips, and I saw how salons worked, and I was kind of disappointed because of what I saw. Some women actually changed their dress shoes and put on chanclas or slippers to cut hair. I know there's casual Fridays, but it seemed like it's beach Fridays. I didn't see the professionalism that people are spending a lot of money. So for those 3-4 hours, you want somebody to work on you. So here's something to think about. And I tell the students this: do you go to a dentist with no teeth? Do you go to a doctor that looks like they're going to die while they're examining you? So why should you go to a hairdresser that has their hair up in a ponytail? They need their roots done. Their hair makes noise. Dry hair makes noise. Bleached out hair makes noise. So come on. It's like we have to step it up in our profession.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Like, how do you want people to come to you? How are you going to grow? Because if you're going to be like those three, you're not going to stay in this business. And that's how serious our business is. And that's how we have to elevate it.
That's so true. The other day we had someone apply for a job, and she came to do her technical with chanclas on. And so she did. I let her do a haircut, and my daughter is the manager of the salon. She says, "Mother, you're going to have her do the rest of the technical." I said, "No, just tell her thank you very much, and she can leave." Because if she shows up with chanclas on to do a haircut for an interview, that's as good as it gets.
Wow. I'm surprised with that, Lulu.
Yeah. So, it's so, and we live in a beach town. That doesn't make a difference. You're going for an interview. So that's what we as professionals have to tell the new generation. Beware of if you go into an interview, go to the interview well-dressed. If there's a form that you need to follow the form. Whatever it is, you got to do it. And it's up to us to teach them. So obviously she wasn't taught. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's so sad. But so can you tell the audience, so currently, and this is No, Sue just dying to ask this question too. So to get into this, so you working with the Los Angeles Ram Cheerleaders.
Yes.
Can you tell the audience about your experience
Oh my
with
gosh.
them?
Yes, it's I'm going on my fourth year with them. It started by saying yes, working with if there's any inspiration I can give people to get jobs is like work with makeup artists. Makeup artists always need hair and they always need hair. So you professionalism, please. That's why people have jobs that they have because people think that they can have that job or they want that job, but it's all to do with professionalism. So I got the call. I was driving, coming from a meeting, and they said, "Hey, Paul, can you be at SoFi Stadium by 5?" I said, "Yes." Send me details. In about 20 minutes, they sent me details. Paul, can you be there sooner and bring your tools? And it's for a video shoot. I'm like, sure. And then it came there's money, so you'll be paid. And this is the thing, a lot of times people don't take up opportunities because they want to get paid, they want to see how long it's going to take, they want to know what they're going to do, and it's like, no man, you learn on the spot. So before you know it, I'm there. We ended up doing hair to 11 at night. It turned out to be their media shoot, so any poster,
Yeah.
anything, it was my work. There's two hairdressers and two makeup artists for 35 cheerleaders.
Wow.
So, working in photography, in the background, I consider myself a detailist when it comes to photography work. Working with some incredible talent that has helped me be like that. I can see something like you girls know. If somebody needs a comb, you don't just stand there. Look, you go get the comb for them, hairpins or whatever. So I just jumped in, and the other hairdresser was seasoned, but I just jumped in. I worked, and this is a compliment I never gotten. And at the end, they said, "Paul, we love your professionalism." I've never heard that. Usually, we like your work. We'll call you, that Hollywood thing, and that never happened. So when they said that, I actually turned around and I'm like, well, thank you. And they said, we're going to send you our schedule, and we would just appreciate whatever games you can work. Oh, man, that night I went in and I opened up my books, and that's another thing. You have to put things aside for opportunities.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my first job and opportunity. You have all eyes on you. It's SoFi owned, along with the Rams, so it is very corporate. I will tell you something. I got a lot of people asking me like, Paul, how does it feel? I'm like, that's just a job. It's just a job. It's always a job until you get there. Um, Walking in, it's amazing to be part of such a big production and to know that you are a main part of it. When I walked into the stadium, it's just amazing where you have all the employees that are the food people, you have the security, I have my credentials, and then, I start walking down, down to the level floor, and then you walk to an area where it's just amazing. You have the fire department, the sheriff department, you have every department down there. And then, we have the cheerleading room, and it's really an honor. The girls are athletes. I've learned so much too because what we do is we touch up. The girls have to be game day ready, so they have to approach the stadium with their hair and makeup. We just touch them up. But then again, they come in kind of loose because they rehearse. So we do their hair after their rehearsal, and if you can imagine, they're stretching, they're doing, their routine, so their hair's all over the place. So you have to learn how to touch up their hair without disturbing it, because you can honestly lose your job if one of the girls aren't happy. They'll definitely, you can lose your job.
Wow.
Easy.
Yeah.
But
So,
it's all about touching up the hair and being on time. I'm always there, and call time is a certain time. I'm always there an hour before. Set up that's part of a team. The girls are makeup, so what am I going to do? Sit there and then you set up the team. You make it easier, so that way it's easy for everybody, and that's what's kept me with the Rams.
well, Paul, I am a football junkie. If I was not doing this podcast with Lulu, I would definitely be trying to get on some sports or football show. So first of all, the Rams are playing really good. They look good last week. How much of that do you contribute to the cheerleaders' hair? And do you have an answer for the 49ers next week? Because Kittle's going to bring it. So those are my two big questions.
Wow. 49er fan, huh? Well, Yeah, the girls are really a part of it. They're very important to the team and to the players and to the arena. I will tell you something on that note, for the Niners. They have security. The guys that walk out with the girls
Yeah.
that are they're not water boys. They are
Oh,
security.
it's
They're
security.
ex-police. And when they come in, they always, oh my God, the fans,
Yeah.
how crazy they are and how rowdy they are. What team do you think is the rowdiest to the cheerleaders of all the teams that they played?
I'm thinking you're probably going to say the 49ers.
Everybody says the Raiders, everybody says a
Yeah.
couple, but the 49ers. And I've never been to a stadium where you see more of the opposing team at the stadium. Because when you go to the stadium, you see nothing but red everywhere. And matter of fact, they have us come in an hour early when we
Yeah.
play you
Yeah.
because they don't want us to be late. Because you guys just love to come
Well,
in herds.
in full confidentiality, I am a lifelong Green Bay Packers fan.
Okay.
But because Brock Purdy played for the University of Iowa or Iowa State and George Kittle's our Hawkeye Iowa boy, I started watching the 49ers. Well, they
All right.
suck you in. They suck you in. So,
Go Hawkeyes. Okay. You spilled something, now I have to spill something. And if I'm not working with the Rams anymore, Sue, it's okay because I had a good run. But I'm a Patriot fan.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, I'm a Patriot fan, but I'm a Rams fan. They pay me, so I'm a Rams fan. But I also started as a Ram fan when I was younger. But
The thing that's been interesting to me is football, I think, used to be dominated by certain teams at certain points of time. And there's been wonderful players over the years. But I'll tell you what, these teams today and this young talent, and it's just amazing to me how sports in general has been so elevated by these younger people who've come, I mean, it's like anything, if you're dedicated, Lulu's thing, you're dedicated, you're motivated, you show up, you work hard, you practice, and
thank you.
across all,
In
all,
anything you do, and I mean, look at the small NFL players.
yeah.
They're running with the Bulls, and they used to be bigger players, and now they're slender, they're smaller, faster.
Yeah.
So the game has changed, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Well, speaking of games, Paul, we started this thing when we began our podcast. And because our people, we say artists, icons, and entrepreneurs, which obviously you're all three, but our people really listen because they want to know about the people. So we do this little thing called Rapid Fire. Ask 5 quick questions. It's just a little peek, maybe more into your life or your person. So, are you willing to play?
Let's play.
Okay. Clippers or scissors? Where do you go first?
Scissors.
One hair product you can't live without.
Oh, it's a pH balancer from Abril Color Company, and as much as I'm a colorist, it's my must-to-go product. I need to have it.
Yeah, cool. Who's your dream person to style, living or in the past?
Wow. I would say, gosh, there's so many, but I would say Sophia Loren
Oh, yeah.
and anybody from the 16th century.
Yeah. That's a cool answer. What song instantly gets you inspired when you're behind the chair, getting ready to get on stage? What's your go-to?
Well, there's a couple, my clients love when they come to my salon because they hear music that they never heard. So in the salon, I like to listen to lounge chill music.
Okay.
And my go-to song when I walk into SoFi Stadium, getting my mindset ready for my work. Before I used to go on stage, it would be hip hop, but right now my go-to music is Bad Bunny.
Yeah. That's good because you're going to have him at the Super Bowl this year.
If the Rams go all the way, there could be a good chance that
Wouldn't that
I
be
can see it,
great?
baby.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and in the morning, are you a coffee, a tea, or something stronger kind of guy?
Coffee.
Yeah. See, I win again, Lulu. I'm so coffee is the one thing I couldn't live without. Well, I am so grateful that I got to have this opportunity to talk with you today. I know you and Lulu have known each other in the past, but we've just kind of got to meet for the first time on this show. Somehow, all of our years in the industry, I was East and you were West, but I loved it. And thank you so much for being on the show. And maybe now I'm going to have to root for the Rams too.
Can I leave you guys with one quote
Go ahead.
Sure,
that I like
please.
to tell people, especially in our industry?
Okay.
You know, in our industry, we say good luck as far as break a leg. So if I could just end with this, break some combs. Let's break a lot of combs. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you so much because you have paved the way for so many educators and young artists in this industry. Once again, on behalf of Sue and I, we want to thank you for being on Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wow, what an episode. That wraps up another exciting edition of Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're leaving inspired and ready to chase your dreams. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode over at youtube.com/Artists, Icons, Entrepreneurs, as well as Facebook at Lulu Benavides, on IG at Lulu Benavides, at Evolve Hair Solutions as well. And don't forget to visit our website at lulubenavides.com and evolvehairsolutions.com to stay updated. Until next time, keep dreaming big, creating boldly, and making your mark on the world. Thanks for listening, and take care, everyone.